This club's about winning trophies. I'm inexperienced in a lot of those things.
3-0. Sorry for smiling there.
Almost lost the cup and you win it. The new European champions, the treble, the dream come true for you.
Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? It is the summer. It is early June, ladies and gentlemen. Manchester United are on summer break. American Red Devils are approaching their summer break. And, it's kind of like the doldrums. Usually it's, the transfer window is not opened. I think it opens about a week. A lot of news, a lot of noise around Manchester United at the moment, but not a lot of movement because here we are, 2 weeks? 2 weeks almost to the day, one day more, post FA Cup final, and we still have no idea what the hell is going on with Eric Ten Hag. Now, big news did drop today. I think we're going to get an announcement tomorrow is my hunch because Tuchel's officially out of the race. Which makes me think they've already decided to stick with Ten Hag for another year. And then Tuchel's like, actually, I reject you. But we'll see. So lots going on. Not a lot of transfers happening. Not a lot of moves. So they better be making moves behind the scene. But either way, I'm looking forward to taking a couple of weeks off. ARD's going abroad next week. Just check out the Euros, sir. How we doing? How we feeling?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to Euro 2024, headed to Berlin, Germany. You got to catch Spain, Croatia, and then I'm headed to Portugal versus the Czech Republic. 2 games, opening stages, group stages, lots of games going on. Summer in Germany. Could not say no to that trip. So we're absolutely buzzing about that. And we're going to be taking a break from the pod, a long needed break from this horrid season. And man, I feel like a lot of news is going to drop when we're over in Germany. We might have to do an emergency pod on like a phone or something. But like you said, what is Ineos doing at the wheel with Manchester United? Something tells me these guys are behind the 8 ball. I credit it to the fact that Ashworth didn't come in when they thought he would. They thought he would come in before the summer. Now they're having to make these moves without him. Obviously, Barada just joined up with Ratcliffe and co. You've had Brailsford, who is probably over his skis, really kind of like a Richard Arnold type character trying to really run the show at United at the moment. And he just has to get the footballing organization and front office sorted. And until they do that, we can't expect like amazing decisions. I always said Ineos was going to make mistakes when they came in. I think they're making one right now. I didn't think they'd be making mistakes this soon because you can't be dragging a manager decision at the biggest club in the world. It's something that it's disrespectful to Ten Hag. The fact you think they're going to interview other managers and then bring them back, I think is interesting because if you're going to interview other managers, I think you just sack them, right? There's other managers, Southgate, De Zerbi, etc. So obviously the Tuchel news make me think they don't want Ten Hag. How could you interview other managers and then keep him? Wouldn't Ten Hag kind of be pissed off at you and not want to come back? He's under contract, but doesn't that piss Ten Hag off? I mean, I just don't think they're managing this well in any way, shape, or form if they bring him back or don't.
They're definitely not managing it well, and I think we both agreed they would make mistakes at the beginning. And it's still early. We got to give them time. They need give them a year to run at it, at least a couple of years to run at it. But they're definitely making mistakes now, just given how long it's taken them to make an announcement. We don't know that Tuchel's camp was notified via meeting or just found out hey, they're sticking with Ten Hag for another year, so there's no job available at the moment. Either way, the absence of a concrete resolution about what they want to do for next year leaves a void. And when you have a void, you have all the dog shit journos in England, which are now a dime a dozen, and they're going to just fill the void with just made up stories constantly. So it's not good for the fans. It's not good for the players. It's not good for the manager. It's not good for the team because you got to just make a decision. You got to figure it out. We have so much to do. We have so much wood to chop this summer that just fucking pick it, make a decision, and let's move forward. We got to figure out who we're selling, who needs a new contract, who we're buying. And then we have preseason starts in 5 weeks. So it's stop dragging your feet. Let's go. Time to go.
No, I totally agree. Ineos, if you're listening to this, just make a call. My main issue with the whole Tuchel nonsense is if you're going to keep Ten Hag, keep him. Don't interview other managers. That's not going to make Ten Hag happy. There has to be some trust between Ten Hag and Ineos. They're developing this new project. You want Ten Hag to be a part of it. how is that going to be interpreted by his camp? They're interviewing other people for the job. It's like, if you want to move on, interview other people, but he shouldn't be the manager anymore. You're keeping both and you're not making a call either way. Look, it's just bad business for Menios. I think they underestimate like the scrutiny that Manchester United has, because at the end of the day, if you interview all these other managers and you say, okay, nobody's out there that we want, and then you bring Ten Hag back, he's going to know he's like number 2. Then he's not going to want to sign an extension. Then how motivated is he to work for this ownership? And oh, by the way, they're probably not going to give him any calls within the squad. They're going to make them on their own. It just seems like a toxic situation for Erik Ten Hag to come back into. And if you wanted to stay with him, you should have just backed him in February, backed him in March, made a call. If you wanted to sack him, you should have his replacement ready for after the FA Cup. Ineos is dropping the ball here. Again, I give him a pass. They're going to make mistakes. I think the Ashworth Newcastle gardening leave negotiation really screwed the pooch for United this summer. I think this is going to be a slow motion car crash. We're not going to get rid of as many players as we want. We're not going to acquire as many players as we want. And we're going to be kind of running it back with a bunch of no-name players filling the gaps next season. And you're going to see Ashworth and co. really prep for next summer, unfortunately. So another transition year for Manchester United, probably a disappointing window. We don't want to hear it, but look, we shoot you straight here at the America Red Devils podcast. That is what we're all about. Sir, jumping into the quick PSA for the pod. If you like the America Red Devils, we are for fans, by fans, no sponsors, 100% fan-backed, 100% fan-supported. It's summertime, so please check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/America Red Devils. Tons of behind-the-scenes episodes. We do one every single month. We launch it out on our Patreon page, plus tons of other benefits. Please check it out. Support the pod. It goes a long way, because just me and Alex in the podcast bunker grinding through this tough season, sir. It was a long one, and now we're in this like postseason indecision malaise, which is kind of even like, you want to say the FA Cup was a positive, but where are we now? And then it's going to be the Euros, and going to be a little bit of a mess. But look, back to the PSA, americadevils.com for our fan blog content, americadevils.store. Erik Ten Hag Red Army scarf, still $4.99. Please check them out. So tell them other ways to support the pod, like, subscribe, etc.
Yeah, great way to support the pod. Beyond the ways John mentioned is to write 5-star reviews. If you write a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, it goes a long way in helping us get found organically. And even better, we're giving away free merch. All you have to do is write a 5-star review wherever you listen. But if you want that free merch, do it on iTunes or Spotify and send a screenshot of that 5-star review to americadevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I'll personally pick, pack, and ship some free ARD gear, send it right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great one from CJ Kanya. Best United pod. Love the show. Strictly footy. Keep it up. Appreciate ya. Woo! What we talking about, sir? It's transfer Muppetry. It's the prees. It's not even open yet. The window's not even open yet. I don't even think Omar starts for a month. I thought he started July 7th. And I agree with you. Gardening leaves, so I feel like we're in it.
So we got some news.
We got pre-news, too.
United in the news. Let's get into it. This is news. We got some releases, sir. Walk us through them.
United confirmed the contract releases, players out of contract, and players who are released from their contract. And then we have heard an update through the grapevine about who's in discussion for a new contract. So 7 releases. The notables are Martial. He leaves after 9 years. Varane's out. Brandon Williams is out. And then the interesting story is that Tom Heaton and Johnny Evans are both in talks for new contracts. You said 2-3 pods ago, sir, new contracts with the boys. There's a lot of wood to chop. We're definitely going to have some contracts with the boys. That feels like that. And then Omari Forson and Shola Shoretire, 2 highly rated youngsters, are also in talks. I think Omari has been offered a new contract, so is Shola, but whether they take it, we'll see. So those are the ins and outs. Not very surprising. I wish things worked out differently for Martial. His tapering off after getting his big contract has just been a death blow and a common theme we've seen in Manchester United over the last decade. And B. Williams, he's had some personal stuff off the field, so kind of a shame there as well. But either way, that's some between Martial and Varane. I mean, that's real money off the wage books.
I mean, Martial, pour one out for him. I don't think he ever reached his potential. He is representative of the pain that we've been through. Sort of tons of potential, never met it. Rashford's kind of in a little bit of a Martial phase. Watch out for the striker who wears short sleeves and a glove. So I'll let you know. That's definitely a sign. when it comes to rating top talent. But he never really quite hit that stride. I thought he could have been the 20-goal a season striker. He had, I think, one of them and then fell to the wayside. And when you don't score for Sevilla on loan and then the United Brass bring you back for another season, that tells you kind of what we're all about. Varane, this one, he was injury prone before we got him. If you listen to the pod, we called it out. Brandon Williams is one you really got to look at. Obviously, some questionable issues around his character, but a lot of people coming to United, we don't have that environment for youth to succeed. And he was a great left back candidate, kind of loaned to oblivion, never really could break through. I felt like, again, we're dying for a left back. He wasn't one. Could we have managed his career better, or could the front office do a better job? And then Tom Heaton, Johnny Evans, like, you got to be getting rid of these guys. Love Johnny. Shout out Johnny Evans. Met him in Dubai.
Come down MLS, baby.
This is not a good move, in my opinion.
Bring him in for a coaching license, like Johnny Evans, like around to help like coach up some of the young center backs, like the Kambualas of the world. If they sign a new 20-year-old, I like that. But Johnny Evans is like, have another go. 37. That's a
this
challenge.
is cheap. You just don't have to pay transfer
cheap.
fees.
It's
It's
cheap.
good and cheap, and they're plugging holes, because this is going to tell you what the summer is going to be about. Re-signing Tom Heaton, Johnny Evans tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a disaster of a summer, and just get ready for it. So
I don't know if it's a disaster of a summer,
Not
but it's
disaster.
definitely going to tell you,
Underwhelming.
hey, last summer we spent 75 million euros on Højlund, and that guy's going to have to be like the guy for 3 years because we don't have the financial means to spend a ton of money. And so like the 400 million that Ten Hag spent and like really didn't spend well, like that's going to be albatross around our neck for a long time. Now, he's a good coach, but when it comes to these big buys, like the Antony 85, that's like hanging around our neck. Like that's two solid center backs that we could purchase that we're not going to. And he's arguably not even going to start on the right wing for United. So these big money cash deals that were on the credit card are starting to catch up with United, and that's going to be part of what you see this summer is trying to reorg and buy no-name youngsters to kind of fill these gaps. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just tough times when you're going to be like, where are the goals going to come from at Manchester United? So you want to jump into the preseason here?
yeah, and good point. It's also we're carrying a lot of debt. It's like there's been a lot of heavy spending. This is a good update, exciting update. The preseason schedule has been released in totality, and the big change, and this shows either Eric Ten Hag has some influence, and I think more likely Ineos is smarter than the last regime already, which is like they have modified the preseason schedule from 8 games to 5, and last season was a nightmare. I think last season's fucking like preseason from hell. And I'll stand by that. Now, you could tell it in the players' faces and the coaches' faces. Like, back-to-back games in different cities. Like, fuck you. That's fucking miserable. So, they're doing it more sensibly. They're doing like a game a week, 8 to 5. We're doing the first game. It starts in Norway. We're playing Rosenborg. So, that'll be a good tune-up game the day after the Euro final in Germany. Following Saturday, 20th of July, we're going to have a friendly in Edinburgh with Rangers for the second successive year. So, that'll be great. I love Edinburgh, great city. And then this is basically the prep for Tour 24, where we head out to the United States of America. Let's go. Starting in lovely SoCal, Los Angeles. First stop, United will meet Arsenal at SoFi Stadium on the 27th of July before we head to San Diego. You smell that? Is it Wrexham? No, that was last year. Snapdragon Stadium, sir, our new shirt sponsors. That's where the following game will be, Real Batiste. And then we finish with a game against Liverpool in South Carolina. Let's go, August 3rd. I hope you like the mosquitoes. It's going to be hot. But that's a very reasonable summer. And then the game after that is the Community Shield on the 10th of August against City Blues. So,
But we're playing the Scouse Bastards in South Carolina.
it's fucking hot.
And
Oof,
Arnie
in
Slot.
August.
Arnie Slot. Yeah, 3rd of August. It's going to be cooking. Shout out to the USA. American Red Devils. Everybody going to the games. Definitely tweet us. Let us know. I've been to a few preseason games in the United States. You know my take on it. I save up my Schrute bucks to make the trip across the pond to Old Trafford. Highly recommended for you United fans because you kind of get the watered down. It's frustrating as an American fan. Like we all started following United here like in the early 2000s, and then when they started coming on the tour, you're like, oh, this is a great time to see them. And then they play like nobodies, and they do like 9 changes at halftime, and it's kind of half speed, right? So it really took me to kind of travel to Old Trafford and see them play in a real contest against the Scouse Bastards with Wayne Rooney, Fernando Torres, Benitez, Sir Alex Ferguson on the touchline to really kind of get the weight of a EPL match. And obviously, you got Americans in the stadium. They're buying concessions during the game, doing all this stuff. It's like really hard to watch. Watching the game discipline in the United States is very poor when it comes to Europe. It's like you're not supposed to leave your seat. You get there, watch the whole first half. And I feel like when you're at the stadium, people coming and going, getting hot dogs and stuff like that, it's very like American. You go there for the food, not for the sporting event. You don't want to eat the food at Old Trafford, I'll let you know. So it's really funny how the sporting cultures are misaligned. But just something to take note when you go watch a team on preseason tour, because it's kind of a bummer. Like imagine you bought the tickets last year and then they played all the kids.
And most importantly, you mentioned the one thing you also miss is like it's so fucking expensive. They make it so expensive in this. I mean, because they know what they're doing. People who want us, who love football, who love Manchester United, who love the other big clubs, and they're coming. They're coming to South Carolina, they're coming to New York, wherever, Dallas, etc. People want to go see that game because it's a great opportunity to take the fam, and then they fucking price gouge the shit out of people, charge them $300 to sit in the rafters. That's the gripes you mentioned, yes, but now it's also gotten so expensive that I just think they're trying to screw people, and then the games end up being like half empty because the tickets are $400. So
yeah, and it's 35.
Choose wisely. That's all I'm saying. Choose wisely, like you said. You're not gonna see Bruno and Rashford and like Martinez like pinging balls. It's gonna be kids.
Yeah, and our season tickets in Stratford are like £35 a game.
America Red Devils.
Yeah, it makes like that's a reason why. Sir, jumping into we got the outs, the contracts, preseason tour. I don't care about preseason. Like, do not care about preseason. Remember, Sancho was playing well in preseason. Remember, Martial was playing well in preseason. Remember, Anthony looked like good in preseason. Like preseason to me is like, I watch it mainly because we have this podcast. But if we didn't have a pod, I literally would not watch it. It's worthless. It's absolutely worthless. And it's like, that's why you tune into Wolves, right? Like you watch the preseason, you're like, oh, we're doing good. Oh, look at this Sancho false 9. Look at that. This past season, you watch Wolves, we're like, we're shit. And we were shit the whole season. That's just that's what I think about preseason. It's almost like, it's like a theater. It's not real. And then you kind of get to the first game and then someone wants to kick you in the mouth. Playing 90 minutes in the EPL can't be replicated against Rangers or any Norwegian team or any team in the United States, even if it is Arsenal. Remember we beat Arsenal at the Meadowlands in New Jersey? And we were buzzing last preseason. You don't remember that?
Barely. I can't not a lot of last season. I choose not to remember.
No, we beat Arsenal, and it was like, and Arsenal had a great year.
Didn't we beat Real Madrid, and that was like a big deal? Like every time we play well in preseason, we end up sucking the subsequent season.
Exactly.
And every time we play poorly in preseason, we actually have a decent season. So it's like basically to scratch an itch, because by the time we get through the season, and usually like the seasons are not as brutal as this, where I like have a taste in my mouth that I want to wash out. Obviously the FA Cup and all the fun around that changed the dynamic. Could have been a lot worse. But by like the time I get through that, I get a month off. We'll watch the Tour de France. If there was a tournament, even better. I'll watch some football there. Like by mid-July, I'm starting to get the itch, the EPL itch, sir. And I need a taste of that Manchester United. So it's a watered down version. It's Diet Coke versus regular Coke. And it's not nearly as good, but like you do it. And like you said, it doesn't matter, but it's still, you get to see some of the youth sometimes.
You're more into it than
matter.
me. Like
I'm a bigger Muppet.
Like you're more into it. Like you're talking about kids that are never going to see the first team.
Yeah.
Getting excited about every little thing.
Hope is a great thing.
And then like literally you play like for me, it has no indication how well we're going to do. That's kind of why
I don't disagree with that.
All right, let's get into it. Erik ten Hag. This whole thing with Ineos, we alluded to it in the intro. Brutal. What
are they doing, bro?
No, here's the deal.
Doing, bro?
Manchester United lift the FA Cup. When Manchester United lifted the FA Cup, there's only two things that could happen in my eyes. If you're Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe and you're a serious sporting operation, it would be we decided to back Ten Hag, which essentially would be a bad call because you just left him in the wind for like weeks on end,
months.
would piss him off and create damage internally if you wanted to keep him around. Right? It would be negative to do so. You should have come out publicly and said, "He's our man. We're going to stick with him for the next year." which I think is actually the smartest move Ineos could have made.
Yep.
For many reasons, one of which this summer was always going to be shit, and they could have laid that at the floor of Eric Ten Hag, and then he could have played shit next year, and they could have canned him, and they would have been given a free get out of jail free card on how shit this summer would go and how shit the team will probably be next year. And I actually think that is the shrewd move. Like, that's the 3D chess move. Keep Ten Hag and like have him just digest these shit roster moves that they're gonna have to make anyway, and then see what he can do. And if he plays well, great. And if he doesn't, then you can him. That's easy for Ineos. They don't have to worry about anything. What they look to have thought is, hey, we actually want to get rid of this guy, but they want to, like, their cake and eat it too, which means they want to interview everyone and do everything like associated with hiring another manager, which being leaked to the press, and then keep Ten Hag still on the droll, if you will, which is kind of very strange. So I just don't think that they made the right call, because the only two calls they could have made would be like back him right then or sack him right then. And then they should have already had the number 2 lined up. There's no way that they can just like literally have him still employed and then not have another manager to go with if that's what they wanted to do. And this is just telling me they're inexperienced and they think they have all this time, and they don't, because this summer is so important. Getting the new bodies in is so important, and they're dragging on Ashworth and they're dragging on the manager. And to me, that's just a red flag. This is a red flag all around. I'm starting to get worried, and I think they think they're smarter than everyone, which is why they're operating like this. And then here you go today, the Tuchel news. Basically, he does not want to coach United. Met with Sir Jim. Why is he meeting with Sir Jim if Eric Ten Hag is still the manager? Makes no sense to me. Just bad management from Ineos.
Yeah, we don't know the decision they made, but if the decisions you laid out, they haven't made either of those decisions. So, like, the absence of making a decision is just not good for anybody. Like I said, you have all this void, and the void is filled by just bullshit. So at this point, Tuchel's out. I think going into the FA Cup final, they planned on firing Eric Ten Hag and then hiring Eric Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel. I think that was the plan. And after he won, you could see it in the stands. They're like, oh, fuck, we should probably keep with this guy. It seems like the players and the fans are kind of like rallying around this FA Cup win. And I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're overthinking it. Maybe they're trying to be like super diligent, like we're doing extra diligence after the fact, and are we making the right decision? But like you said, I agree. I think not making a decision quickly can be often as bad as like making the wrong decision in the first place. So right now they have to just decide what they're going to do and go with it, because like you said, it was always going to be a challenging summer. They're always going to make mistakes in the beginning. I do agree. I think they're smarter than they think they are, but like they're playing in the most dangerous game in the world, bro. They're like playing a football game on the top of K2. It's like we're managing one of the hardest. They own co-own one of the hardest clubs to own in the whole world. It has more scrutiny. Probably the only thing compares is like how people in Madrid locally like treat Real Madrid. Like they're as fanatically and as nuts as the English press are about Manchester United, and it's just like constant and non-relenting. So like they need to wake up and realize like they have to be on their toes. And I think this is a product of the fact that there's no even CEO in. Like you said, Brailsford, he's more of like a board member guy. I don't think he's like a day-to-day operator guy. And Omar hasn't started yet. Obviously, we haven't even locked down the DOF yet. We haven't even locked down the contract of Ashworth and the buyout with Newcastle. So it's like they're on their back feet. And the easiest thing to do, it would just be like stick with the manager, vocalize that in the press, be like, we're excited to stick with Eric Ten Hag for another year. We're not opposed to giving him more years if it goes well, which it might not. But they have those options available to them. But the thing they can't do is what they're doing right now, which is just like sit on their hands and let the press dictate the story nationally and globally.
Yes, but there's two questions I have for that. Do you think that Ineos, if they do not get rid of Ten Hag, are damaging their relationship with Ten Hag by the way they have dealt with him since they came in, and then how they're dealing with him now? Don't you think that's going to be a negative impact on the relationship with Ten Hag?
I think they've already damaged the relationship with Ten Hag.
Yes, but
I would imagine Ten Hag has a little bit of bad will with a new crew. Now, if they like bent the knee and were like, we fucked up, we should have like some back to you, and we sorry we didn't, but hey, you showed us something in the FA Cup. Let's have another go of it a year, and if you do well, we'll give you more years. Like, that would buy you good graces. But I definitely think they harmed the relationship.
Yeah, so to me, I think they're harming it because they don't want to go with him. Like I don't think you're going to be like, screwing this guy over, pissing him off, like you want to keep him and have him do well. Like they're smart enough to know that. Like Ratcliffe's a billionaire. Like we can't just say that like exactly self-made, like multi-billionaire, right? And he knows like F1 and he has sporting experience. It just is. I think to me, it's Eric Ten Hag's out because they wouldn't have links to other managers public if he was going to stay. I think they're that smart. To just like do the manager roundabout and then come back to him would be very bizarre unless they told him, hey, we're going to talk to all these other people. You know, you're a strong, there's a strong possibility we'll stay with you, but we want to kind of like go date the field before we get engaged. That's a possibility too. But also my main point is you need this done they came in February. Yeah. February, March, April, May. You had the time to make the call, and then you had to get the new guy signed before you get rid of Ten Hag. I agree you can't get rid of Ten Hag and not have anybody. You have to have the other guy signed on the dotted line, and then you kill shot Ten Hag, and then you're like, new guy. Like, that's how it's done.
It's the next day. It's a rip and replace. It's literally like
boom.
Monday, announcement, Tuesday, hey, here's the new Baldy.
It's like special ops, like taking the stealth choppers. It's like you get it done in one day, one night, like in and out. New manager, here you go, fans. You parade them out, and it's like that's how you need to do this. And they're not doing it that way, which is concerning because that's just a little. It's something that a club like Manchester United deserves and needs, and you just need that shrewd businessman running it. I just feel like. Behind the scenes, it's got to be such a mess on so many levels, right? That's the only reason.
It always has been.
Like they probably came in and were like, "Oh my god!" And like we've heard kind of anecdotal stories about how everything's messy or the credit cards, etc. But why are they focused on that when they don't even have a manager? And it seems to me, director of football, manager, like they should be sweating the fact they have not gotten Ashworth in, and then he can't make the call on the next guy. And the real question is, should Ineos even make this call without the director of football? Shouldn't they just keep Ten Hag and back him and then get Ashworth in to then see if Ten Hag's the guy? Like, that's obviously the move too. And I don't know why they're not thinking that way.
I mean, a month ago I thought that, and then I think the final changed my opinion. And I think now it's like, make less decisions. You have so much to do anyway. Just like, let's do fewer things. Let's stick with the manager for a year. Because that's two decisions, right? Fire him and then pick somebody else. Just stick with him for a year. We have to get Ashworth in the first place. When he's in, he can evaluate how the manager is doing under a new structure. Do we stick with him even longer? Do we fire him next year? All that stuff. So it's like, just make it so you have less wood to chop. We like aim small, miss small. Let's keep it simple on ourselves because right now we're giving ourselves like as many things to do as possible. We need our CEOs coming in. We need a new DOF we haven't even hired yet. Are we going to hire a new manager? He's going to have thoughts. It's like there's so much shit up in the air that this summer is going to be underwhelming. I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I think 13 was a disaster because we had so many players we needed to bring in and we didn't back our new manager then. But I think it's going to be underwhelming because we're not going to be buying, and we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be buying 85 million for Anthony. Removed the talent of the player, even spending that on an Anthony, a guy from
Anthony,
the Dutch league,
Anthony,
whatever. Like I said, like when he starts scoring 10 goals a season in the EPL, I'll get his name right. So yeah, I think this is not good for the United, but I think it's coming soon. And like you said, emergency pod is definitely on the menu. There'll be an announcement between now and the next scheduled pod, sir. So brace yourself.
Great. Yeah, we got a correction. Barada does start July 13th, sir.
Okay.
So he
so
will
even
not
worse.
be in
So
for
there's
another
nothing,
month.
no one there, basically.
So that's not good news.
No.
And then the transfer window on June 14th. So the transfer window opening up
5 days.
in 5 days, right before the kickoff of the Euros. Nothing is done international tournament summer until late. It's going to be busy at United. And obviously the Tommy T news. We kind of said Tuchel would be the guy to go with just because he can manage the locker room. This seems to be coming out of the Tuchel camp. You're hearing kind of like, hey, you want a Rudiger because that's just a bad idea. Like this, he's kind of like a Mourinho. He wants like his guys, probably older players, proven. And I think it broke down around this whole control. I think that really would be the issue for a Tommy Tuchel and Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe want like the Southgate simping. Ain't easy, and the Tommy T running the show is probably going to be too much for them. So that does make sense why that would fall apart. I just kind of felt like Sometimes you just need a big name manager to come in and kind of get a grip of this club in the period of uncertainty. What do you make about the Tommy T call that they made and the fact it leaked?
Yeah, I think this might be leading to something that's going to come tomorrow around sticking with the manager. I could be totally wrong, and we'll find out in the coming days. But
Well, it could be De Zerbi, right? It could be like Tommy T's not the
it could be Southgate. It could be there's been a lot of noise around De Zerbi. There's been a lot of noise around all these managers.
I find it. I guess the one question is like you seem to think talking to other managers means they're going to keep Ten Hag. That just is like I think talking to other managers means they're not going to stay with them.
Well, we don't know what we're going to happen. We have
No, I know.
We're both speculating, pulling shit out of our ass. So like I think they're actually going to keep him. You think they're going to fire him?
No. I think there's a chance they can keep him, but any club who has a current manager and is talking to other managers, have you ever seen them keep the manager? I've never seen.
Have you ever seen them keep the manager after we finish the season? I've never seen this.
No, that's what I'm trying to say.
Whatever we're living through right now, I've never seen it as even a third party, not even to United, to other. I've never seen like the guy who was there before is still there. We haven't fired him, but we're looking at other. Like that's unheard of. And the season's over. This is unheard of. I have never seen this. So. I have no idea. Like either they are sticking with Ten Hag or they're going with another guy who, like you said, is probably easier to manage because Tuchel, he'll come in, he has the gravitas, he's won the Champions League, he's managed big players, he's managed at big clubs, but he's got to push back against Ineos, and I think Ineos are like, fuck it, we're gonna have a lot to deal with anyway. Maybe we want a manager who's more malleable, and if they do fire Ten Hag and they don't go with Tommy T, they're gonna want someone more because who else is available? Everyone else
here's
is
the problem.
much more malleable.
We're on the list. Here's the Santa's list. Tommy T, top of the Santa's list. You didn't get that for Christmas. Scratch
Everyone
that
else
off.
is pretty shitty, bro.
Pochettino, which I know you're happy about.
I'm good.
How happy are you that Pochettino got scratched off Santa's list this year?
Eric Ten Hag has won more silverware at Manchester United than Pochettino's won in his career.
I've never met a manager that like he pisses me
I
off.
like him. I mean, he looks like a cool guy. I'd have a mate with him, but like I don't want him to be our manager.
No, you just for some reason you don't like. So what's left on the list
It's
is
literally like Gareth Southgate, De Zerbi,
and Potter.
and Potter.
They're not crossing Southgate off the list. They're not crossing. So like now as fans, like I'm literally like
Eric Ten Hag, baby.
I'm literally
Let's go. Give that scarf, bro. $4.99. Pick up your scarf. I'll wear it. It's hot as shit in the Potter room.
No, it's like for me of the three on that list, there's only one that makes sense, and it's De Zerbi. There's only one because he left Brighton, right? He's free. You got to pay Ten Hag $10 million, right? It's good and cheap. Southgate's got the Euros. There's no way that you could get Southgate in, or why would you even do that? Why would it be worth it to wait all summer to get him? And he's a young manager. He'll let you do whatever you want with the squad. Like at Brighton, he just literally was the coach. Arguably didn't finish well, but the way he was playing with this kind of motley crew was pretty good. So he would be the ideal candidate who would say yes to whatever Ineos wanted, and he wants to play a certain style of way, which might align with what Wilcox is looking for, who has a vote in the say. So it's De Zerbi is kind of coming to the front for me a little bit of the rest. And obviously you have I just don't think I'd be very surprised. That'd be a huge rope-a-dope for Ineos to talk to all these other managers and then keep Ten Hag, assuming he wouldn't be disenfranchised by that behavior. Like the fact, and here, you know why you haven't heard from Ten Hag? Why haven't you heard from Ten Hag, or why hasn't he quit?
Because he doesn't know what's going on, bro.
Because of £10 million.
That too.
He isn't going to do nothing.
Well, no one's going to talk because they're under contract. They're under contract.
No,
They
Ten
can't spare the
Hag,
club.
he has £10 million. Ineos right now, it all comes down to the
He's the
$10
manager.
million.
As of today, he's the manager of Manchester United. Too.
Yeah, but when it comes down to Ineos and Ten Hag, it is the £10 million is the reason why Ten Hag could be literally on vacation, F these guys, I'm never coming back. Or that could literally be what he is thinking right now. There's no way in hell he would coach Manchester United. He's going to let them fire him. That could be his thought right now. Ineos is literally thinking about pulling the trigger on the 10 mil, and they want to make sure that they have the new guy before they pull the trigger on the 10 mil. And that could be why this is dragging so much. So many different scenarios to run through. And it's getting crazy, sir. We got the magic 8 ball in the pod.
Okay, here we go. Let's
shake it up. Let me know.
Will Eric Ten Hag be the manager of Manchester United next season?
Let's see.
What's it say? Cannot predict now. That's basically cannot predict now.
Okay, will De Zerbi be the coach of Manchester United next season? Let's see. Magic 8 ball, without a doubt. You heard
There
it
you
here.
go, there you go.
The Magic 8 Ball, De Zerbi.
I don't think he's an upgrade to Eric Ten Hag, but I do think he fits.
He's got hair.
Okay.
He's got spiky hair.
But spiky hair is a red flag, too.
Spiky.
I don't think he's an upgrade to Eric Ten Hag, but if they're looking for that profile of coach, I think he's better than Southgate.
He looked good
And
in
I think he's better than who was the other guy? Potter. So yeah.
Yes, he's the best of the rest.
He's the best of the rest, but I think we stick with what we got personally. But we're gonna find out this week, I think.
All right. Another Dutchman was caught on record.
Pissed off
here.
Dutchman who he fucking irked.
Louis Van Gaal on Eric Ten Hag here.
Yes, of course, but I need also more time at that time. I won also the FA Cup, and before me, 20 years, nobody has won the FA Cup. Now Erik is winning the FA Cup, and the first year also Champions League. So I don't think you have to sack him. He needs more time. But I can also be more critical. He has not done it fantastically. No, you can be with a lot of criticism, but he has also shown that he is a good manager.
Oh, Louis Van Gaal. Well said. Well said. I mean, those are, hey, somehow made it about himself.
He's Dutch, bro. And nobody has gone on a bigger like fuck United tour since leaving United than Louis Van Gaal. So shout out to Louis Van Gaal, absolute madman. I love it. He's like, I needed more time too. I won the FA Cup. It's great. It's great. Love to see it.
All right. Next bit of news here. Ratcliffe is going to be selling Nice. You know, obviously there's issues, conflict of interest, Nice, Champions League, etc. I like this. I like this move from Ratcliffe. It's like, hey, I can't only deal with like one football club, and that is Manchester United. So, you know, all signs to point to him being more committed to United, and you like to see this call from Ineos. This is a big one. I'm sure they're realizing how this project, the redevelopment of the stadium, you know, building out the front office, like, you know, he wants to leave a legacy. This is a legacy guy in his 70s, running marathons. He's thinking about putting his mark in the north of England, and that is Manchester United, and bringing this club back. So we are cheering him on despite the rocky start here.
No, indeed. And they're always going to have a rocky start, and this is a good sign. And this also, I bet you going into this acquisition or the investment, they did not anticipate selling Nice, but like you said, I think this shows that these fuckers learn at least compared to the previous regime, because they're like, oh my God, this is a lot. This club is complicated, and we should just focus on our prize, right? Because like they're not doing the whole like city move money around through a pyramid of fucking clubs to sports wash like on a global scale. This is like, hey, we're money motivated guys. We want to be successful. We want to make cash, but we also want, like you said, to bring United back to the promised land. Make England happy by having, you know, half of England who's rooting for Manchester United be happy again. Their club is where they belong. So this makes total sense. They should just focus on United because United is plenty. We got a lot to do here.
Next bit of news here: VAR stays, outvoted 19-1. So again, like we go on the VAR rants here on the podcast, but they just got to improve it. We saw a replay in the NFL. It really ruined the game for almost a decade. It was annoying. They've really figured it out and perfected it where it actually helps. I think, you know, VAR in the EPL is in this phase of getting it to help versus slowing these crazy decisions down to the minutia and then making these inconsistent calls. I really think there's a lot to do here for VAR. My concern is the quality of refs in England is very low. And we'll continue to see horrible VAR decisions for the years to come, but maybe in 5-10 years, they'll have it sorted. I think this is that type of phase you go through introducing replay. They first do too much, then they pare it back, then after making all these mistakes, you eventually figure out how to get it in the game and what decisions should be replay generated.
Yeah, you hope so. I mean, this is not a surprising decision. You know, you wish they'd get rid of VAR, but like you said, I think the problem is the inconsistency among refs. The problem is like it has the smell. It's not dissimilar to like the kind of the way the FA runs itself. It's like it's like an old boys club. You know, it's like kind of closed off. They act like they're above reproach. So like, nah, you're not going to tell us what to do. We're going to tell you what we want to do. And I think they need to like, you know, be a little bit more open. And the fact that they only released the audio for like a bad Liverpool call because they like bent to the will of Liverpool fans and the press is kind of hilarious. But They should do what they do in the Aussie League, right? Where they fucking play it live, like literally on TV, what they're saying. They should just have greater transparency and just have the same VAR crew every week. If you did that, it would get better like instantaneously, because it's arguably the consistency. It's like if you're gonna decide what a penalty is, just it should be a penalty every game, right? So like we'll all come to agreement as long as it's consistent across matches.
That's a hard one. That's going to be hard to do. You know, the penalties, like what's a foul.
They're doing it elsewhere, bro.
I would like to raise the bar on fouls. Like I think overall
Agreed.
England has lowered it. They need
City-
to raise
they have
it
City
again
effect,
to
the
like
City.
what it was like in the 2000s. I mean, that's just the way it should be. Next news: Man City is trying to destroy the English Premier League as we know it. This is just insane. We're going to get into this probably later as it kind of metastasizes here, but they're suing the Premier League, saying the financial fair play rules were unfair and they lost out on all the hundreds of millions of dollars in sponsorship revenue. They do have people that are backing them in this case, Everton, etc. Like a lot of clubs who are owned by rich guys
Like
who
Newcastle,
can't inject money.
Chelsea.
And I think the tyranny of the majority they refer to. So it's like
The tyranny.
what's insane about this is literally like Abu Dhabi, the royal family buys Man City, then they join this league. They literally break every rule.
Every rule.
They don't
Every
care.
rule.
They like, and it's just one of those things. And then they start suing them about the rules that they broke. Look, there's an argument for this, etc. But like anyone knows that isn't like a petulant child. It's like you join the league and then you start like meeting all the other owners and you become friendly with them and then you kind of lobby for what you want to happen and change the rules organically over time. Like that makes sense to me, that if all these billionaires own teams, that you could get 14 clubs to vote new rules in to like help billionaires like invest in their teams. But you don't do this. And this is like obviously scorched earth tactic. They're throwing mud because they have the 115 charges. Look, I think the only thing to do here is to expel Man City out of the league. I mean, you can't buy a club and not abide by the rules. It's clearly what they're doing, and they're just bad actors. They're bad actors. Look, Pep Guardiola is a great coach. Kevin De Bruyne, great midfielder. Holland, scored a ton of goals last year. Great football. You'll watch him on the pitch. That's not easy to do. Nobody's saying that isn't the case. But it just really comes down to who their owners are and what are they doing to the sport, and they are trying to ruin it. And if you're going to buy a sports club and you're not going to follow the rules, like you should go home, get out of here. Now, here's the real rub: history does repeat itself. The match fixing scandal in the early 1900s, John Henry Davies ended up buying a bunch of the City players because they got suspended from Manchester City because of the sport match fixing scandal, and then United actually won their first title. And so City could get like disbanded. You're already seeing like De Bruyne talking about leaving.
They're fleeing, bro.
Barada left. The people are jumping ship. It's like clearly, like if you've ever been in a place that's like going down, it's like
You can tell.
people jump.
Yeah, you can tell.
You could tell people are jumping off the ship, and I could definitely see that. I don't know what the penalty is going to be. Relegation doesn't seem enough to me, especially with this lawsuit. This is getting really bad, really toxic, and it'll be interesting to follow. But I just don't like a bad faith actor coming into the league and then behaving this way. It's just not good for anybody playing the victim mentality too. It's just bizarre.
Well, this is on England and this is on the FA because shame on them. They enabled this. They enabled this for 20 years because guess what? The first sports washing enterprise in English football was Chelsea Football Club, owned vis-a-vis Vladimir Putin, bro. So like they did it first, then it was City, then it was Newcastle. And you know what? If they had a problem with it, they should have shut. Because even I think Chelsea were breaking fewer rules than City are breaking. They should have got ahead of it in the 2010 when, the manager was getting paid out of contract, like via third party off the book. So they've enabled this. Now it's their job to rein it in because you can't have this. You can't have it. Like you said, they're working in bad faith. These people, the people who are running this football club, I'm sorry, I'm not sure they have the right integrity levels because they're willing to just keep cheating. And if you cheat on one thing, you're going to keep cheating on other things. So they've enabled this. It's not good for the league, right? It's now a league where one team is dominating it. And if you don't cut it off right now, the league is going to run away. And it's basically City's going to decide what they want to do. They've allowed this to happen, right? They have the government interfering. It's actually UK politics with Emirati politics are getting complicated and involved in this. And England has put them out. England and the FA have put themselves in a position where they can be made to compromise because of this. So it's not good. It's not good for anybody, and they need to get ahead of it because, dude, they cheated. They should get relegated in multiple divisions. Now, I do have a hope because they are fleeing, bro. Like, what did he say? Like, Kevin De Bruyne was like, I would love to go to Saudi Arabia and make that money. That's sweet cash. Get that bag. And what's his name? Pep's going to leave next year. Like, Holland will leave.
No, the writing's on the wall.
They're all going to leave because they cheated. And they cheated on so many different fronts that eventually the shoe's going to drop. But they got to just do it. Just like a Band-Aid. And guess what? All the funny new fans, they'll all flee too.
Sometimes neighbours are noisy.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, and sometimes the cops come. Shut that party down, bro. Cops. This one don't need to talk too much about. Sancho, going to sell him for a cut rate deal, $40 million. No one's paying $40 million.
Nobody.
Hey, nobody. Ain't nobody.
Nobody's paying $20 million.
We made a lot of right predictions on the pod. Ain't nobody paying 40. You'll get 20 plus add-ons for this kid.
You won't even
Absolutely
get 20.
nothing.
You won't even get 20.
100% we're going to sell him. Interesting move from
100%.
Ineos.
You think it's 100%? We're gonna. You think
Fabrizio Romano, Manchester
100%.
United.
They want to sell him. What is the likelihood that he's actually sold before September 1st? I think it's a 0% chance.
I will tell you that there's going to be Ineos coming in and making these calls. They got to get into like no money down, fire sale.
No way down.
You got to get into that game, and this is that game. Jadon Sancho getting him out. The problem is, I think there's a player there. So if Erik ten Hag isn't staying, I would give him another go there's a better than Anthony. Like, unfortunately, that's a player.
I don't even know it's better than Anthony.
There's a serviceable player there, who, whether you can say it's right to accommodate, just like a Paul Pogba, doesn't make sense to accommodate this guy and his antics. I don't know. Depending on the manager, like some managers are good at dealing with other things than others. And you heard Mourinho's comment about it too. He said that as he gets older, the way he dealt with players in the past, he probably would have done something differently, tried to find another way to work with them or been more flexible. Mourinho talked about that. And he said, like, to be honest, Ten Hag would look in the mirror and say, hey, he could have done something else too. I think it's a fair assessment of it. I don't think Jadon Sancho is like a great guy, probably. But can he play? Like, if he's motivated, yes. It depends on the coach, in my opinion. And it's a lot of money we paid for him. It kills me to like lose $40 million on every side. Like, you sell Anthony for 20, you're losing 60. You sell Sancho for 20.
It's worse than we're paying him $20 million every year to play somewhere else. It's a terrible signing.
You're still gonna pay to get rid of him. You're like,
no, you'll never get rid of it. He will leave on a free transfer, bro. You'll never be able to sell him.
I hope Ineos does it. But like, let's get into fan questions. At Mike United Mets, sirs, I've heard you say on the podcast a few times you don't have much interest in watching Welcome to Wrexham, but I highly recommend it. Shows what joy can come from an ownership takeover for a club and a town. Makes me feel optimistic about United. Sir, you don't like Welcome to Wrexham. Tell me what you think about Wrexham.
Hey, I got no problem with Wrexham. I got no problem with Always Sunny. I don't like, in America, we have this thing where like all of a sudden like a fringe sports thing, or even not in fringe, becomes like the story, right? Like the Tim Tebow's and Brett Favre's of the world in the back of the day. And now like as soccer's kind of breaking through, right? You had the fucking, what's that dumb show? On Apple TV, sir. Help a brother out.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. That was kind of like a defining
It's not
moment.
a dumb show. It's a good show. I'm defending Ted Lasso to the hilt here on the American Doubles podcast. Not gonna let you poo-poo everything.
Okay, I'm not poo-pooing everything. I don't mean to poo-poo. I don't want to yuck your yum, bro. People like the show. People like the show. Everyone, it's like Wrexham. It was just too much for me, and it's just they're shoving it down your throat, and there's like 7 different shows.
Here's the deal about Welcome to Wrexham. I got Welcome to Manchester United. Like, that's the deal. It's like these guys.
I'm a tribe. I'm a tribe.
Like Ryan Reynolds, who you can look it up, guy makes hundreds of millions of dollars, invests well, and gets lots of returns, right? This is a money-making operation. They bought this football team. They're like, we're going to just put our pretty faces on camera. We're going to film it. We're going to make a lot of money. Like, this is a money-making endeavor for them, and that's kind of where and I know there's probably more to it. They care about the club, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like Sunderland Till I Die. Love that show. Like, I've been to Sunderland. I can connect with Sunderland. I think there's just so many stories like this and so many clubs you can connect with. And Wrexham is, one of them. But like the fact it's in Wales, I haven't been to Wales, don't have a connection, but like we went to Sunderland away, saw Zlatan score his last goal for United. So when I watched Sunderland Till I Die, we saw the Sunderland fans, how sad they were. We saw David Moyes on the touchline. So Sunderland Till I Die connects with me big time. And
Also,
Okay.
I think, I have a newfound appreciation, which I think the takeaway is like there's 100 Wrexhams in, in Britain,
Yes,
which is
yes.
amazing, which is the most amazing thing about, because this is British football, right? Because it's not English football, right? Because it's obviously Welsh. But like that, the pyramid is amazing. The fact that there are these teams with these fans in this little fucking town and that everyone is so diehard and then all of a sudden a bunch of Hollywood stars buy them. What I'm saying is like that's a great story, but there's 100 other Wrexhams like Sunderland, like smaller clubs fighting in League One, League Two, and I love that. I love that part about football. I think that makes Britain, England so unique, is going to those games and seeing like other teams. Like when we go to championship games when we're over there. So you know what?
We went to
Who
the
am I to
League
poo-poo?
Two.
Who am I to poo-poo?
We went to the League Two final between Sunderland
great.
and Wycombe.
Wycombe
Everyone
Wanderers.
calls it Wycombe. Again, the football pyramid in England is amazing. I think it really just comes down to that. At B_man99. Hello, sirs. Having been terrible for most of the season, I think the best piece of business we can do is change the manager. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we should not change the manager at this point because it's just one less thing to do. But
Even though they've pissed them off, like I think that we got. I think when you go like this, you got to change them.
I mean,
I think the energy, the vibes of it, it's like I think it'd be toxic to bring him back. It's like you're talking to other managers. You should just move on. Like what else can you do? You know?
I mean, I think we should keep him. So I disagree with you because I think like it's so risky to go another way, and you can fire him in November.
You don't think the milk's gone bad?
No, I don't think the milk has gone bad. We just won an FA Cup final.
No, I'm saying Ten Hag isn't pissed at Ineos.
I'm sure he might be, but I'm also hopeful that like if they come and say, "Hey, we fucked up," or at least like make
He
amends
looks
a
like
little
a
bit.
forgiving guy. You know what I'm saying?
We
Like
don't know him,
it's
bro.
like
How do we
I've
know
seen
him?
a lot of players get kicked out of the club. You think but Ineos is looking for a
Yeah,
simp
but what
to
if they
do-
say sorry? Like Sancho didn't say sorry. Ronaldo
Ratcliffe-
didn't say sorry. They got booted.
Okay, Ratcliffe's a big sorry guy. Like, he looks
You know what? If he's smart, he'll say sorry, bro.
He's
And
a
if,
big
if
sorry.
he's smart,
I'll
actually,
tell
he'll
you,
realize like it's save me $10 million to
billionaires.
say sorry.
You know what? That's exactly what I associate with billionaires. It's just they're really good at taking the L and saying sorry. Like that's just like that. That's what I would think they like to do. It's just be like, you know what?
Well, he's gonna fuck.
Sorry.
Then he's gonna make a lot. He's gonna make a lot of mistakes, bro.
Like again, I think
This is not. This is not running a petrochemical company.
you have to think about this statement. There's a right way to back Erik ten Hag and keep him happy and have him stay under a new regime, and there's a wrong way to do it. And the ship has sailed on the right way to do it, which was back him before the FA Cup final. At the heat of all the speculation, they should have come out and said, he's our guy. And the fact that they didn't, like Erik ten Hag definitely probably isn't happy, and he's probably not happy about the last 2 weeks.
And he should be happy. By
And
the
so-
way, he should not be happy.
And so, since I think it's going badly between the two camps, I think they should just move on and just that way we have a clean slate. Like as far as him and tactically and like whether or not next year would be better, I just think there are humans and there is man management in like leadership as far as like who your boss is and what they want you to do. And from everything we've seen, Ineos wants Ten Hag to take a step back, and they're gonna like treat him like this, interview other people, and then be like, yeah, come do this job, bro. Like, I just don't know if he's going to be like thrilled about that. At D_Cole, Lindelof, Evans, Varane, Casemiro, Martial, Sancho, Donny, Amrabat, and others. That's 3 center backs, 3 central midfielders, and a striker at minimum we have to replace immediately this summer in positions we're already weak in. With Tuchel removing himself from contention, we have to back Erik ten Hag this summer.
I mean, I think that's the move. Without Tuchel, he's the man to stick with. I would think. Now, they might go a different route. We might find out tomorrow. We might find out tonight for all we know. But we have work to do. And here's the thing. We've said this. It's like we've been kicking the can for years. Years. So this is going to take multiple summers. And the fact that we're already late to the party only compounds the amount of work that we need to be doing. So just like manage expectations. We're not going to spend big. I don't think we're going to spend big late like we always do. And we need to do that because we need to get to a place where we're more like we can do this consistently because we've been overspending, and that's not something that you can do forever. We got $1 billion in debt, and you can't just keep kicking the can on that.
No, yeah, and to clarify, I think the right decision would be to back him for another year, but they should have done that in like April, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't do that in April and you string the guy out, then you should probably it's like a logistically like you're pissing him off, and it's almost like when you piss off somebody who works for you. Are you gonna get 110 out of him? That's kind of the question. Should we be concerned? Re the dithering from Ineos, no director of football, no head coach after months of observing no communication. RE football, plenty of talk about Old Trafford, plenty of decisions on normal working folks on the club, but nothing of substance RE football worrying. They are taking their time. They're taking their time, right? And that's one thing that is very clear is Ineos is not worried about taking a little while to make all these calls, which, at the end of the day, looking back on it, could be the right one. But I just feel like stringing Erik ten Hag out the way they are doing is unfair to him, and it's unfair to the fans. Like, they should just literally said at the end of the season, this is the deal. Like, we're talking to other people. He's still in contention.
There's no disagreement.
Or we're moving on. Like they could just say what it is. Just communicate to the fans. We're looking at every single option. Erik ten Hag is a part of that, and we're going to tell you here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you there. I 100% agree, sir. So it's like they're late to the party. But right now we can't make a decision whether or not a determination whether or not this is a successful summer. It's like we're like in the middle of quarter one. If it's a 4-quarter summer in terms of a transfer window and all that shit. So it's like, let's see what happens. So far, not so good, but let's see what happens. Because, we've had plenty of late starts to summers. We've had plenty of bad summers, but, let's see where it goes. Let's see what happens over the next coming weeks. But, this is the thing they're fumbling right now. It's like, I'm less worried about the signings. Obviously, I think we have to sell to buy anyway. But this is bread and butter stuff. You have to kind of sort your manager because it all comes from there. So they could be doing a better job.
Look, that's it. That's the podcast. Summer transfer, Muppetry, and everything in between. Ineos indecision. We are off next week. We are headed to the Euros. Going to get some sun. Some not dark ales. So what do they have?
Pilsner,
light
baby.
ales
Let's
in
go.
Germany.
Hefeweizens.
Cheering on. Who are you going to be rooting for in the Euros in 2024?
Spain. England.
I'm rooting for England, sir. Let's hope they can
Kobe, baby.
bring it
Kobe
home.
Mainu.
Kobe
Let's
Mainu. If you like the America Devils, no sponsors. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/America Devils, americadevils.com, americadevils.store. Sir, give us our top 10 downloads last 7 days.
Number 1, how you doing? Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, Dublin, Ireland, Houston, Texas, Philly, PA, Brooklyn, New York, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, New York, and last but not least, Dallas, Texas. Appreciate all the America Devils listening week in, week out. We are going to enjoy our summer break. We are headed to Berlin. Cannot
Vacation.
wait. Let's go. Get me a pretzel. Get me a Stein. I cannot wait. Have a great summer, everybody. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks. And if shit happens around the manager, you'll be hearing from us a lot sooner.